आराध्यो भगवान् व्रजेशतनयस्तद्धाम वृन्दावनं रम्या काचिदुपासना ब्रजवधो वर्गेण या कल्पितः श्रीमद्भागवतं प्रमाणममलं प्रेमा पुमर्थो महान् श्रीचैतन्यमहाप्रभोर्मतमिदं तत्रादरा न परहम् वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम् हरे कृष्ण. Dear devotees, we welcome you to this fourth or fifth session, I believe, of the Nectar of Instruction, Shri Upadeshamrita. Hoping more devotees will join eventually. We did skip 1 week in the middle due to the presence of His Holiness Bhakti Marg Swami Maharaj in Edmonton. So since he was with us, we were unable to comment in this class at the same time last Sunday. We will continue from today where we left off. We went through the preface of Shri Upadeshamrita. We went through text 1, all the purports. In summary, we were discussing about controlling or tolerating at least the urges of the senses. Yes, that was the essence of text 1. How prithivim sasishat, how when one actually qualifies, when does one actually qualify to become a spiritual master? The first and foremost qualification is that one must tolerate the urges of one's senses, which include जिह्वा वेगम उदरोपस्थ वेगम वाचो वेगम मनसा क्रोध वेगम जिह्वा वेगम उदरोपस्थ वेगम जिह्वा वाचो वेगम the urge to speak, manasah, the urges of the mind, krodha, anger, controlling anger, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, the urges of the tongue, udar upastha vegam, the urges of the belly and the genitals. Like that, we went through Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purports in the previous sessions, and we finished off text 1. Now we will start text 2, which is wonderful. It's simply wonderful. It has also a very long purport, so I think it will take at least 3 sessions to just finish discussing about this one. But let us begin today. It is an auspicious day. Actually, today is Ekadashi. In Canada, Tithi-wise, today is Ekadashi, but it is not suitable for fasting. Tomorrow is Unmalini Mahadvadashi, so the fasting for the Vaishnavas is actually observed tomorrow. So today is not, it is Ekadashi, it's auspicious, but it is not suitable for fasting. Therefore, what an auspicious day to begin, what an auspicious day to start a new verse of Shri Upadeshamrita. Again, in case you forgot, Shri Upadeshamrita is written by Srila Rupa Goswami Pad, who is one of the leading acharyas of this Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, which has been mercifully decorated by the presence of Radha Krishna in the form of Srimad Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So like that, we are very fortunate to receive this knowledge by Rupa Goswami, and then of course translated and commented on by Srila Prabhupada. So let us begin text 2. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraham janasangascha lolyam cha shadvir bhaktir vinashyati. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagrahah janasangascha lolyam cha shadvir bhaktir vinashyati. So if you could understand a little bit what the last line was saying, Shadvir Bhaktir Vinashyati. So like we discussed when we were discussing the preface, Shri Upadeshamrita is taking us from the do's and don'ts of spiritual life to the topmost attainment of Vraja Prema Bhakti. This is the glory of this Shastra, this book by Srila Rupa Goswami. It starts off with Vaidhi Bhakti, giving us, telling us what to do, what not to do, what rules, regulations to follow, how to execute our devotional service, in what mood to execute our devotional service, and what not to do while executing our devotional service. So in this one, in this text 2, where very wonderfully Srila Rupa Goswami is giving 6 pillars or 6 activities which Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. जो करने से जो अगर ये 6 काम कोई पूर्ण रूप से करे, कोई ठान ले कि मुझे ये 6 काम करने ही हैं, तो क्या होगा? उसकी भक्ति का विनाश निश्चित है. This is the instruction in this text. Shadbir Bhaktir Vinashyati. ये 6 कार्य करने से, जो कि हम जानेंगे what they are, by doing them, by engaging in such activities willingly, one will destroy, one will become one's own reason for destruction of devotional service. Not really destruction, we cannot say bhakti is never destroyed, but vinashyati in this is directly translating, vinashyati means destroyed, but bhakti is not actually destroyed. Even bhakti carries on to the next life. That is the glory of bhakti. But if one does this, one does bhakti and still does these 6 things which are mentioned here, which we will discuss, then it is like achirate pave, no, what is that verse? Tabu tana pave Krishna pade premadhan. Yes. Bahu janma kari jadi shravana kirtan, tabu tana pave Krishna pade premadhan. अगर अनंत काल तक, अनंत जन्म भी हम कृष्ण का भजन नाम मात्र के लिए करें, मान लीजिए आप करें जन्म जन्मांत 7-8 जन्म या 100 जन्म आप भगवान का भजन कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, लेकिन तबु तना पावे कृष्ण पदे प्रेमधन, अगर आप इन 6 चीजों का ध्यान नहीं रख रहे हैं, if you are not taking into account these 6 things, these 6 activities which will entangle us, these 6 activities, if we are not making sure that we are avoiding these, then tabu tana pave krishna pade premadhan, then janma janmantar की जो साइकिल है चलती रहेगी, फिर भी हम भगवान श्री कृष्ण के चरण कमलों की प्राप्ति नहीं कर पाएंगे if we continue to engage in these 6 activities. So what are these activities? Translation by Srila Prabhupada. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Atyahara, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. This is known as atyahara. Number 2, prayasa, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3, prajalpaha, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4, niyamagraha, which is practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. This is known as niyamagraha. 5, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, which is janasangas, that is janasanga. Okay. 6th one, last one, is laulyam, being greedy for mundane achievements. So Srila Prabhupada has given an 11-page purport on this, 11 pages. We will go through and we will discuss each of these 6 things. So it is atyahara, prayasa, prajalpa, niyamagraha, janasanga, and laulya, or greed. Laulya is greed. So these 6 things are, what do they do? Shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. ये करने से जीव के, भक्त के, भक्ति का, it is actually a vinash only. If we are not getting our ultimate goal in this lifetime, if we are not getting Krishna, then ultimately it feels it's like we're cheating ourselves, no? So yes, Srila Rupa Goswami has very nicely written, Shadbir bhaktir vinashyati. If we continue to do this life after life, we won't go anywhere. That's why Mahaprabhu made it very clear. If you want to do kirtaniya sada harihi, then you must first follow the what he said before. Trinadapi sunichena tarori api sahishnunam amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari. Similarly, We are doing devotional service. We're doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Bhada Sevanam. We are doing all this. But we are not taking care of these anarthas. We already have so many anarthas, Kama, Krodha, Moha, Lobha, and then expressions of these are expressions, physical expressions or subtle expressions even of these anarthas in our heart are expressed through these 6 things, 6 entanglements which destroy vinashyati, bhakti vinashyati, which destroy devotional service. Srila Prabhupada's purport: human life is meant for plain living, simple living. Also, Srila Prabhupada many times he's called this plain living or simple living. Plain living and high thinking. Since all conditioned living beings are under the control of the Lord's third energy, this material world is designed so that one is obliged to work. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has 3 primary energies or potencies. The first is called Antaranga Shakti or internal potency. The second is called Tatastha Shakti or the marginal potency. And third is called Bahiranga Shakti or the external potency. The living entities constitute the marginal potency, and they are situated between the internal and external potencies. Being subordinate as eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Jivatmas or atomic living entities must remain under the control of either the internal or external potency. When they are under the control of the internal potency, they display their natural constitutional activity, namely constant engagement in devotional service of the Lord. This is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakritimashritaham bhajantyananya manaso jnatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, Arjuna, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. Devim prakritim ashritaha. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So here, to start off, Srila Prabhupada is explaining the 3 Shaktis, Antaranga Shakti, everything that we know, material, spiritual, and us as living beings, everything is composed of 3 main energies of Sri Bhagavan. That is Antaranga Shakti, internal potency, Bahiranga Shakti, external potency, and Tatastha Shakti, marginal potency. The word itself is self-explainable. Antaranga means internal. Bahiranga means bahar, external. And then Tatastha, this is the one we have to understand. We as Jivatmas, as Srila Prabhupada is saying here, we as Jivatmas, we have the tendency to be entangled in Maya through Bahiranga Shakti, and we also have the tendency to engage in Bhakti for Bhagavan Krishna. Bhakti is the activity giving pleasure to Krishna, is under the Antaranga Shakti. Engagements with Maya, averse to Sri Krishna, is Bahiranga Shakti, external potency. Now, why is the Jiva called Tatastha Shakti or marginal potency? Because the Jiva can either go here or there. Jaise Tatastha. What does this mean? Tata. Jaise एक क्या बोलते हैं उसको, समुद्र है, and then there's sand on the side. Now the bank or the tatta, we say like Yamuna Tata, even a river, the tatta, that can either be covered by the water or it can be covered by the sand. One who's standing right in the middle can be affected by both things. Yes, like that the Jivatma, although its own Shakti, Tatastha Shakti, but because it is Tatastha Shakti, it can be affected by the Antaranga Shakti or the Bahiranga Shakti. And the whole process of devotional service is to go from Bahiranga Shakti, which we are under now, we are under the influence of Maya. We are now doing devotional service, engaging in bhakti, purifying ourselves, purifying our desires to what? Go to Antaranga Shakti. And what is the characteristic of such a person who is under Devim Prakritim Ashrita? This is actually said by Swayam Bhagavan in the Bhagavad Gita 9.13, that Devim Prakritim Ashrita, कि जो महात्मा है, महात्मानस तुमाम पार्था दैवीम प्रकृतिम आश्रिता, कि जो भगवान के भजन में लगे, जो भगवान की भक्ति करे, जो भजन्त्यनन्य मनसो, जो अनन्य भाव से भगवान का भजन करे, that person is under अंतरंग शक्ति. वो दैवी प्रकृति के आश्रित होता है. दैवीम प्रकृतिम आश्रितः. It's self-explanatory verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Right now, we are not दैवीम प्रकृतिम आश्रितः. अभी हम बहिरंगा प्रकृति जो भगवान की माया है, जिनका संचालन श्री दुर्गा देवी करती हैं, we are under the influence of that. We are under the influence of that. But now, engaging in devotional service, refraining from these 6 things, which we'll get into. Srila Prabhupada is actually gonna, of course, explain these, but he's giving an intro by explaining simple living and high thinking, and how the constitutional position of the jiva is actually to serve Krishna in the Antaranga Shakti. That is natural for the jiva. But because we are tatastha, we can be affected by both. Okay, continuing on with Srila Prabhupada's purport, the word Mahatma refers to those who are broad-minded. Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. So Mahatma means those who are broad-minded, not cripple-minded. Cripple-minded persons always engaged in satisfying their senses, sometimes expand their activities in order to do good for others through some ism like nationalism, humanitarianism, altruism. They may reject personal sense gratification for the sense gratification of others, like the members of their family, community, or society, either national or international. Actually, all this is extended sense gratification, from personal to communal to social. This may all be very good from the material point of view, but such activities have no spiritual value. The basis of such activity is sense gratification, either personal or extended. Only when a person gratifies the senses of the Supreme Lord can he be called a Mahatma, or broad-minded person. In the above quoted verse from Bhagavad Gita, the words Devim Prakritim refer to the control of the internal potency or pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This pleasure potency is manifested as Srimati Radharani, or her expansion Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. When the individual jiva souls are under the control of the internal energy, their only engagement is the satisfaction of Krishna or Vishnu. This is the position of a Mahatma. If one is not a Mahatma, he is a Duratma, or a cripple-minded person. Such mentally crippled Duratmas are put under the control of the Lord's external Bahiranga potency, Mahamaya. Indeed, all living entities within this material world are under the control of Mahamaya, whose business is to subject them to the influence of threefold miseries. Adhidaivika klesha, sufferings caused by demigods such as droughts, earthquakes, storms. Adhibhautika klesha, sufferings caused by other living entities like insects or enemies. And adhyatmika klesha, sufferings caused by one's own body and mind, such as mental and physical infirmities. Daiva bhutatma hetavaha, the conditioned souls subject to these 3 miseries by the control of the external energy suffer various difficulties. So when one is not engaged in devotional service, not under the influence of the Antaranga Shakti of Sri Bhagavan, one is automatically becomes, see, agar hum Mahatma nahi hai, to hum Duratma hai. As simple as that. Right now we are trying to go from Duratma to Mahatma as devotees, as practicing sadhakas. That's the will, that's the desire. So one who is a Duratma, one who is not a Mahatma, who is under Mahamaya, who is under the influence of Mahamaya, such a person suffers from 3 types of sufferings. 3 types of sufferings, which is what? Adhidaivika, Adhibhautika, and Adhyatmika. 3 types of kleshas. Like we just said, Adhidaivika is things given to us by demigods or external power. Daivi Shakti ke dwara jo diye jate hain, which is drought, floods, earthquakes, storms, not in our control, not like we desired for it. It's given by Prakriti, it's given by the Devatas. So that is known as the Adhidaivika klesh. And next one is Adhibhautika klesh. Sufferings caused by other living entities. Suffering caused by other living entities. So that can be insects, that can be enemies, that can be, even people we know around us, they're all known as Adhi Bhautika Klesha. Third one is Adhyatmika Klesha, things that we do to ourselves, things, sufferings that we cause for ourselves. Overthinking, low self-esteem, sufferings of one's own body, either mental or physical. Everything comes, all these sufferings that oneself puts on oneself, is Adhyatmika Klesha. And in this, since we were discussing about these three types of miseries, there's one beautiful shloka, one beautiful verse about the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. What does it say? Satchidananda Rupayam Vishvotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Tapatraya Vinashaya. जो श्रीमद् भागवतम है वो क्या करता है? What does the Srimad Bhagavatam do? If one engages in devotion, see, Srimad Bhagavatam is स्वयं भगवान. श्री कृष्णाय वयम नमः, भगवान का वपु स्वरूप है, भगवान का ही स्वरूप है श्रीमद् भागवतम. So by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that in itself is devotional service to Srimad Bhagavatam. Just reading, just listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. कभी-कभी कई लोग बोलते हैं कि आप कथा सुन के क्या करेंगे? Right? Param Puja Pad Srila Radha Govindas Goswami Maharaj was once saying this in his katha, that some people ask that you will listen to Srimad Bhagavatam, उसके बाद कुछ करना है ना? कथा सुनना थोड़ी ना कुछ है. कथा सुन के कुछ करना है, भक्ति करनी है. That is okay. But कथा सुनना ही भक्ति है. Yes. Listening to Srimad Bhagavatam in itself is bhakti. Yes. उसके बाद कुछ करें तो that is सोने पे सुहागा है. But listening to katha, listening to Krishna katha in itself is bhakti. Like that, Satchidananda Rupaya, this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Satchit Ananda, which is eternally blissful, eternally full of bliss, Sat, Chit, truth, bliss, and Ananda. Satchit Ananda Rupaya, Vishvotpatyadi Hetave, and then what does it say? Tapatraya Vinashaya. One who engages in devotional service to Srimad Bhagavatam by reading it, by distributing it, by listening to katha of Srimad Bhagavatam from sadhus, from Vaishnavas, then such a person, Tapatraya Vinashaya. Tapa is these kleshas, sufferings. Tapa means kleshas, sufferings. Traya means three. Vinashaya, completely destroyed. One who completely surrenders, one who completely takes shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then, of course, of devotional service. This can be attributed to devotional service. For such a person, Tapatraya Vinashaya. For such a person, these three tapas, these three types of sufferings, which actually encompass all or any suffering one can experience in one's life. It is completely destroyed, vanquished, vinashyati, for one who takes shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Satchidananda Rupaya, which is an eternal form of the Lord, full of bliss, full of eternity. Like that. So here also it is mentioned that one who is not under the Daivi Prakriti, one who is under Mahamaya, these kleshas will heavily affect them. Yes. Daiva Bhutatma Hetavaha, the conditioned souls subjected to these three miseries by the control of external energy suffer various difficulties. Yes. And Srila Prabhupada, just going back, he's also mentioning that many people like to involve themselves in many types of isms, like Srila Prabhupada mentioned, nationalism, humanitarianism, altruism. See, externally, materially speaking, very nice. There, Srila Prabhupada also says, materially, all may be very good from a material point of view. But they're all categorized under the box or under the umbrella of sense gratification. If one is fighting for one's nation, very nice. That person can attain Swarga actually. But when we talk about spirituality, when we talk about bhakti, that is not to go to Swarga, that is to go to Vaikuntha, that is to be liberated. When one engages in service to either family, just for the sake of doing it for a family. Now, a devotee may also do all these things, but that's a different discussion. Simply speaking, that one engages in, grihastha dharma, or one engages in nationalism, rashtra dharma. By doing such things, you can get material benefit. You can get even Swarga. But Srila Prabhupada explains here that it is like, okay, I want to satisfy myself by eating, certain types of food. That is my personal sense gratification. Now I want to do certain things which will help many people. That is extended sense gratification. But जब तक हम भौतिक स्थिति में हैं, तब तक ये इंद्रिय तृप्ति ही है. We must understand this. Until we are affected by the Mahamaya, the Bahiranga Shakti of Shri Bhagavan, until then it is either personal sense gratification, communal sense gratification, social sense gratification, extended sense gratification. It is sense gratification only. We are not looking to please Krishna. We are not looking to serve Krishna in those, even though we may be doing something selflessly for the family, for the nation, for humanity at large. It's good, no doubt. We are not saying that you should not do, but that is still material. That is still material. To come to the platform of devotional service, to come to the platform of being a Mahatma, one must take shelter of devotional service, which is the natural. See, we say Radha, Srimati Radha Rani is actually where the internal potency, or she is the internal potency of Shri Bhagavan. Srimati Radha Rani, Lakshmi, Sita Devi, these are all expansions or manifestations of the internal potency. So Radha, the word comes from Aradha or Aradhana. Aradhana, one who is perfected. No one can worship, no one can express their love, no one can love the Lord as much as Srimati Radharani. No one can serve the Lord as much as Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Antaranga Shakti, or coming under the shelter of Devi Prakriti, which is actually coming under the shelter of Srimati Radharani, what does that mean? That means one is engaged in devotional service. That is the meaning, directly. Until we are not doing bhakti, we are under Mahamaya. As soon as you come to the platform of devotional service, then perfecting oneself, becoming a Mahatma, then one becomes actually from one's Tatastha Swarup goes from the Bahiranga to the Antaranga. Then actually we can be liberated. Then we rise above the sufferings. Many people say also, why do devotees suffer? Why do devotees suffer? In the context of a pure devotee, that is completely different discussion. That is, different siddhanta is applied there. Reasons are different, especially if one is taking the position of a guru. But as devotees, as practicing sadhakas, we may also have this question, why am I suffering? Because we have not surrendered yet. हम अभी भी आधा महामाया में हैं और आधे हम अंतरंगा शक्ति में हैं. Yes. We have not completely surrendered ourselves. Krishna has made it very clear in the Bhagavad Gita, ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते तांस तथैव भजाम्यहम्. ये यथा माम प्रपद्यन्ते. आप जिस भाव से भगवान को अप्रोच करेंगे, आप जितने शरणागति से आप भगवान को अप्रोच करेंगे, Krishna will reciprocate in that same amount to you. Naturally. If you see, since Krishna has the supreme free will, we as his parts and parcels, we have our own minute free will as well. And Krishna, lifetime after lifetime, he has not interfered with our free will. He's let us do what we want. He has fulfilled our desires. Right? अगर पिछले जन्म में किसी का स्त्री बनने का इच्छा है, तो अगले जन्म में उसको स्त्री का शरीर प्राप्त होगा. Because if one's desire is so strong, that is what you will think about at the end of your life. And antakale cha mameva swarn muktva kalevram. If you think of Krishna, then you go to Krishna. If you think of woman, you become a woman. If you think of dogs, you will become a dog in the next life. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita very nicely in the 8th chapter. Yes, like that. One who is not engaged in devotional service is under Mahamaya, and we are actually mostly under Mahamaya. One disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he was saying, I think he didn't come for Mangala Arati or something, and Srila Prabhupada asked him, why didn't you come? And Srila Prabhupada was very furious. Srila Prabhupada made it very clear that everyone must attend Mangala Arati. And if you don't, then you shouldn't eat that day. That is what Srila Prabhupada said. So he asked that devotee, why didn't you come for Mangala Arati in the morning, 4:30 a.m.? That devotee said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I fell into Maya. Srila Prabhupada said, no. You are always in Maya, you sometimes fall in Krishna. You are always in Maya. You are mostly Maya conscious. Sometimes you fall into Krishna consciousness. That is our situation. We think that by doing bhakti for some years, or even starting bhakti, or being spiritual in a sense, or being religious in a sense, that we are so great. We are not. We are not purified. How much envy is there in our heart if we sit down and see? How much foul do we think of others? How much foul language some people may even be using? Even as devotees. How does that help? How much non-humble actions do we do on a daily basis? We are not perfected beings. We are still under Mahamaya. Srila Prabhupada also said one more thing, that someone asked him, what is your concern for your disciples? Or some question was asked. He said, I'm concerned that my disciples are not enough aware of Maya or something. They're not scared enough of Maya. Because Maya is, आप सोचिए, Maya इतनी प्रबल एक personality है, Maya इतनी प्रबल है कि अनंत काल से हम उसके ही वश में हैं. Like we never thought, and there's still, we can even see, like as devotees, we can still, little bit get a bird eye view that, okay, we have to come out of this. Think about it. Many lifetimes, more than 84, 84 लाख योनि हमने निकाल दी माया के चक्कर में. उसके बाद भी हमें क्या पता हम कितनी बार देवता बने हों, कितनी बार नरक में गए हों, कितनी बार मनुष्य जन्म प्राप्त करके भी हमने सिद्धि प्राप्त ना की हो, भगवान को प्राप्त ना किया हो. How many lifetimes we've wasted? This Maya has a very good grasp on us. We should not underestimate how powerful Maya is. It is Krishna's energy. भगवान पूर्ण रूप से शक्तिशाली है. भगवान की ही जो शक्ति है, we are underestimating that. No. Maya बहुत प्रबल है. And we should not think that as a devotee, as a sadhaka, I will not suffer. I should not face anything because, I'm doing 16 rounds for a year or something. No. Krishna reciprocates with us according to our mood. If we want free will, Krishna will allow us to have free will. What does free will mean? तापत्रय. 3 ताप से पीड़ित होना पड़ेगा, फिर से गर्भ में जाना पड़ेगा. What is that? भज गोविंदम गोविंदम भज मूढ़मते संप्राप्ते सन्निहिते काले नहीं रक्षति दुःखिन करणे. Sripad Adi Shankaracharya has written. But there's also one more. I cannot recall. पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं पुनरपि जननी जठरे शयनं. Yes. What is Sripad Adi Shankaracharya saying? पुनरपि जननं पुनरपि मरणं. हम कितनी बार जन्म ले चुके हैं, हम कितनी बार मर चुके हैं, कितनी बार भोग कर चुके हैं. Still look at the grasp of Mahamaya. Look at the grasp. Still we want to stay in this. It's like the pig wants to always stay in the stool. उसकी प्रवृत्ति बन चुकी है, उसको स्टूल ही अच्छा लगता है. हम ऐसे हो चुके हैं. अभी हम sadhak hain. We are just practicing devotees. In fact, we are struggling devotees, struggling spiritualists. We are trying to get Krishna. Hum with our faults, with our anarthas, with our kama, krodha, moha, lobha. As sadhakas, we are just trying. We should not think we are perfected beings. That is the first mistake. Never want, kabhi pehle jab hum, when we come to spiritual life, tab lagta hai sab shuddha bhakta hai. Everyone is a pure devotee. We respect everyone. We give them honor. Prabhuji. And this is there, naturally. When one comes, क्योंकि हम अभी माया से हम अभी अंतरंग शक्ति में प्रवेश कर रहे हैं. अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि अंतरंग शक्ति का क्या है, कैसे है अंतरंग शक्ति. What is the potency? What is the characteristics of this अंतरंग शक्ति? Service, wearing Vaishnava clothes, tilak, kanthi, ये सब अंतरंग शक्ति के मध्य आता है. So we come as very nice, humble personalities. And then eventually we come to the point when no one is a pure devotee, only I am a pure devotee. First we come, everyone is a pure devotee, and then, I need to learn, I need to know how to do bhakti, I want to, advance spiritually. Then over time, when we, familiarity breeds contempt, if we've heard about that, when we get used to practice of spiritual life, just actually not even practice, we're just dragging our spiritual life, then ऐसा लगता है कि कोई शुद्ध भक्त नहीं है, मैं ही एक शुद्ध भक्त हूँ, and I should not suffer, I should be happy, I should be like that. We are still under Maya. That is the unfortunate situation. Until we 100% become surrendered to Guru and Krishna, to Krishna and his devotees, until we surrender ourselves fully, we will not be free from these 3 kleshas. Because we still have the desire. Asha hi paramam dukkham, nirasha paramam sukham. This is in the Pingala story from Srimad Bhagavatam. There was a Vaishya known as Pingala, and she says, she's in the stuti when she becomes purified and she realizes that devotional service is actually the essence of life. Pingala says, Nirasha hi paramam asha hi paramam dukkham, nirasha paramam sukham. Desire is the root of suffering. Asha hi paramam dukkham, nirasha paramam sukham. No desire is the root of supreme happiness. No expectation, no desire. Everything will come. अगर दुख अपने आप आ रहे हैं तो सुख भी अपने आप ही आएगा. हम दुख के लिए कोई बैठते हैं, दुख के लिए कोई हम यूनिवर्सिटी जाते हैं कि मैं अगर MBA नहीं लिया तो मुझे दुख नहीं मिलेगा. No, we don't study. We don't. I mean, we should study. I'm not saying that. We don't over endeavor for dukha. Why should we over endeavor for sukha? This is the thing. But still, we are doing that because that is the grasp of Mahamaya. That is the grasp. हमारी जो पूरी जो भक्ति का जो कार्य है वो एक इस महामाया के चक्कर से निकल के अंतरंगा शक्ति दैवी प्रकृति के संरक्षण में जाना है. We have to go under the protection of Srimati Radha Rani, which is अंतरंगा शक्ति. Then no sufferings will affect us. No sufferings. आप सोचिए मतलब जो शुद्ध भक्त हैं देखिए भगवान के वो अकिंचन है. Namo Kinchana Vittaya. Krishna is known as Akinchana Vittaya. They have nothing. Some devotees have literally nothing. Some sadhus have nothing. Pujapad Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj didn't even have a bank account. And he was the, GBC chairman of India. Didn't have a bank account even. He wrote in his will, I have my personal deities are my only wealth. Yes. But they're supremely happy. Those devotees. They're pure devotees. Until we become Mahatmas through the process of engaging in devotional service under the protection of the Antaranga Shakti, हम पूर्ण रूप से जो क्लेश हैं उनसे मुक्त नहीं हो पाएंगे. Yes, that is the essence of why we should take shelter of Devi Prakriti. Yes, Mahamaya से छूटना बहुत मुश्किल है. We can Personally, all of us can experience क्योंकि हम उसमें हैं, जन्म जन्मांतर से हैं और हम दुख प्राप्त कर रहे हैं. ये तो क्लियर है ना. महामाया में तो कोई सुखी नहीं हुआ. माया के चक्कर में खेल के जन्म जन्मांतर से कोई सुखी नहीं हुआ. अभी भी सुख ढूंढ रहे हैं. Just one more car, one more house. Yes, we are still trying to find happiness. It's not there. It's a matter of time. We will realize, and it's a matter of time everything will be taken away. Either we should detach by ourselves, or the arrangement of kala or time, at the time of death everything will be taken away anyways. So one is forced, one is done willingly. So like that, we are under the grasp of Maya. Now, engaging in devotional service as sadhakas, we are trying to free ourselves from this and go under the protection of Antaranga Shakti, Devi Prakriti, which is Srimati Radharani. We can do so by engaging in devotional service. Continuing on, the main problem confronting the conditioned souls is repetition of birth, old age, disease, and death. In the material world, one has to work for the maintenance of the body and soul. But how can one perform such work in a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness? Everyone requires possessions such as food grains, clothing, money, and other things necessary for the maintenance of the body. But one should not collect more than necessary for his actual basic needs. If this principle is followed, there will be no difficulty in maintaining the body. According to nature's arrangement, living entities lower on the evolutionary scale do not eat or collect more than necessary. Consequently, in the animal kingdom, there is generally no economic problem or scarcity of necessities. If a bag of rice is placed in a public place, birds will come to eat a few grains and go away. A human being, however, will take away the whole bag. He will eat all his stomach can hold and then try to keep the rest for storage. According to scriptures, this collecting of more than necessary, atyahara, is prohibited. Now the entire world is suffering because of it. So now, after this very beautiful introduction, Srila Prabhupada is starting to comment on this verse. So the first thing that we discussed in the starting, which can destroy our devotional service, which can hanker our advancement in devotional service, is atyahara. What is atyahara? Explained by Srila Prabhupada. He is translated wonderfully. Collecting more than necessary, eating more than necessary, or collecting more than required. This is known as atyahar. Ahar means food or consumption, against more than necessary. This is the concept of simple living and high thinking. Srila Prabhupada has, many times he has said this one thing: simple living, high thinking. This is natural, actually, to perform devotional service, to advance in devotional service, especially to advance in any type of spiritual embarkment. Let's say of even someone who's starting may not necessarily be a devotee to start with. Someone who's a spiritualist, let's put it that way. First thing is to atyahara. One must refrain from atyahara. The way Srila Prabhupada explains it is, we as conditioned souls in the repetition of birth, old age, deeds, and death, we are conditioned to do things that will entangle us. Yes? But now we have to, like we just discussed, Devam Prakatim Ashritaha, we have to work in such a way that is favorable for the execution of Krishna consciousness. If one's goal of life is to attain Krishna, this is also said by Srila Prabhupada so many times, this one statement: one must mold one's life in such a way that one is Krishna conscious 24 hours a day. One must mold one's life in such a way. Yes. The goal is Krishna consciousness, but until we make these external arrangements, there's no way that is going to happen, because our mind is already full of so much garbage. We are already, like we just discussed, the grasp of Maya is so strong. So strong. How can we get out? Yes. Let us arrange our life in such a way. The first thing that is recommended here is to refrain from atyahar, eating too much. If one eats too much, one's senses will be agitated. If one eats at night and eats very late, one will be unable to wake up in the morning. Yes, if one eats too spicy, too tangy, one's senses will be agitated. One's mind will be agitated. So like that, one must not eat, of course, abhaksha padarth jo hai, unka to sevan karna hi nahi hai. Prasad ka sevan karna hai, we have to eat prasad. But that too in control. One must eat what is necessary for the body, to keep the body running. हमें खाने के लिए नहीं जीना है, हमें जीने के लिए खाना है. We should not live to eat. We should eat to live. That is the concept here. Secondly, atyahara also refers to consuming more than necessary. So one is to only eat. We are eating more than necessary. The other thing is consuming more than necessary. That may be in a matter of clothes, luxury. A devotee, see, once your goal of life is Krishna, once you've decided that mujhe jeevan mein Bhagwan ko प्राप्त करना है, then you live in a way that is favorable for that. We're not going to go around telling people to, sell your BMWs or sell your house. No, that's okay. As long as you are following or trying to follow, I don't know how many people are, but okay, I'll still say this, trying to follow the principle of Yukta Vairagya, that is okay. But a devotee is simple at heart. A devotee is simple in his engagements. Like that. The thinking is higher. The goal is higher. The achievement is higher. Goloka Vrindavan. But here the devotee doesn't want to be entangled. We're already so entangled. That's why atyahar nahi karna hai. We should not eat more than necessary or collect things, collect more than necessary. The beautiful example is given of birds. Birds, they will eat a little bit, how much they need, and then they will go about their way. It's the human being that will eat till, here, or even here if there's space. Then he will keep for the next day. That's greed. And it's natural, actually, because again, Mahamaya. We are under the influence of the grasp of Mahamaya, Bahiranga Shakti. So, step one, as devotees, let us try to make our lives more simple. Let us make our lives more centered on Krishna than ourselves. Yes, we can give so many examples on this, but we can also we should also not become too rigid, because of course, in the situation of each person, it may be a little different. Regardless, in any situation we are, चाहे हम कुटिया में रह रहे हैं, चाहे हम महल में रह रहे हैं, let us not make the focus of our lives those things. Let us not make the goal of our lives to collect things. Let us not make the goal of our lives these false aspirations that these will give us happiness. At least let's rise above that. And it will be greatly facilitated if you make your life simple. Yes. If you make our lives externally simple as well, see, not fanatically, that मुझे दिखाने के लिए करना है, या मुझे अब मैं भक्त हो गया, अब मैं, I won't do this. That is fanatic. As simply as devotees, naturally this should come, that we want to live a simple life. Simple life. ज़्यादा ताम झाम नहीं, in simple language. If we make this arrangement for ourselves, it will facilitate our devotional service. We won't be too entangled. Dear devotees, the more luxury we have, the more money we have, it will entangle us. Truly speaking, it will entangle us. So, continuing on, next one is prayasa, which is connected to atyahara. Maybe we should do that next time, in next class. Summarizing what we discussed, Srila Prabhupada introduced this verse, this text 2, with explanation of the three Shaktis, Antaranga, Bahiranga, Tatastha. We are of the Tatastha Shakti, and we can be affected by any of these, Antaranga or Bahiranga. And to become free from the three types of kleshas, Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adidaivika, to be free from suffering, one must go under the influence of Devi Prakriti, released from the pangs of suffering, which Maya is giving us, Mahamaya, and therefore engage in the devotional service of Sri Bhagavan. And commenting on Srila Rupa Goswami's instruction that is to be avoided if one wants to safeguard one's devotional service, one must not do atyahara. One must not eat too much, consume too much, and collect too much. One should live a simple life. And this is a sutra, you should remember this actually. Simple living, higher thinking. One will remain satisfied in any situation of life if one simply lives simply and thinks of Krishna, which is higher thinking. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayoho, keeps one's mind at the lotus feet of Krishna. Therefore, one will always be situated as a Mahatma if one does it perfectly. If anyone has any questions, we can take some. Thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna. Yes, Anurag Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, my question is, it could be a stupid question, but I just want to ask. How does a Mayavadi person like me decide that this is more than necessary? Because the necessary part is very, very difficult for a person like me to define. Because I'm so conditioned that, I should have this, and then when I move another 5 years in life, I need more. And so, how do you define more than necessary?
So, like I said, yeah, we have to, for each person, necessary may be of a different definition, because we are all coming from different backgrounds, right? For, again, different backgrounds. Therefore, necessary is defined differently for different people. We have to sit down and think for ourselves. Do I need this? Can I use this to serve Krishna? Or is this only increasing my own sense gratification? It's a matter of reflection. See, like I said, desire is what conditions us. Desire is what liberates us. If we really want to attain Krishna, if we really want to do bhakti, we will definitely reflect. We will definitely sit down and think, is this necessary for me at this moment of life? Is this favorable for me to engage in Krishna service? This is a matter of self-reflection. Self-reflection. See, you can cheat anyone. You can be duplicitous to anyone in this world. You cannot be duplicitous to yourself. You cannot be duplicitous to Paramatma. Krishna knows your heart. And you also know what you want. But first thing is we must understand कि अगर हमें भगवान को प्राप्त करना है, अगर हमें भक्ति सही में करनी है, not duplicious, तीव्रेण भक्ति योगेन यजेत पुरुषं परम, तीव्र रूप से, in a very intense way, if we want to do devotional service. And see, the phala or the fruit of doing this is we won't suffer. अगर हम पूर्ण रूप से शरणागत हो जाते हैं तो तापत्रय विनाशाय, all these types of sufferings which are characterized in these three types of sufferings, आदिदैविक, आदि भौतिक, आध्यात्मिक, ये खत्म हो जाएंगे. अभी हम सबको ये चाहिए कि सुख मिले दुख जाए, सुख संपत्ति घर आवे. This is very, very famous. Many people sing this. Everyone wants sukha sampatti. This is the goal of goal of our existence is sukha. We are always just looking for happiness. Now, if we want that real happiness, if we are fixed that, okay, I will not be satisfied with anything else except the topmost happiness, then we will sit and reflect. Then we will be honest with ourselves. See, again, desire is going to liberate us, desire is going to condition us. If you want to desire Krishna, you will make specific arrangements. You will know what is necessary for you, what is not necessary for you. Okay? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we are good to go. Thank you very much for joining. We'll see you. Okay, never mind. One more question. Why we should fast on Dwadashi this time instead of Ekadashi? I'm not sure for India. India it may be Ekadashi, but for Canada, or at least where we are right now in the Mountain Standard Time, the calculation wise, we saw in the calendar that today is Ekadashi Tithi wise, but it is not suitable for fasting. I'm not sure why. I think one of the reasons is because usually what happens is, I'm not sure about Mahadwadashi, but usually what happens is if the Ekadashi Tithi is not present in the Brahma Muhurta, then that day is not considered as Ekadashi. But since there is a Mahadwadashi, Vaishnavas prefer to fast on Mahadwadashi. It is more glorious. It is more, that is amongst all Vaishnavas. Mahadwadashi is preferred for fasting other than Ekadashi. In India, I don't know. In India, Mahadwadashi may fall on different days. It depends on the time zone. Okay? I hope that was sufficient. Jai. Okay, we are good to go. We'll see you on Tuesday evening at 7:30 p.m. For the Bhagavad Gita session organized by the ISKCON Youth Forum of Edmonton, Lessons from the Battlefield. And then next week again, 8:30 a.m. For the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita class. Thank you very much for joining. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinde Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol. Yeah.